Well, with that intro, welcome to another Kansas Missing and Unsolved podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Jabruggi, and joining me down in Elkhart is May and Hope. How you guys doing down there?
We're
We're
doing
good.
good.
That's the first time I've seen that intro. That's pretty cool.
It was.
I
Like it.
enjoyed it.
For a quick one, that was a pretty good one. I like that.
Hi, Connie.
Oh, man. And this
Hi,
past Saturday,
Rodney.
I did do the. Hey, Rodney. This past Saturday, I did do the KMU table at the XWE wrestling show. And that was pretty cool. We had some folks come up, and my younger daughter was with me, and had some folks come up and talk to us. And my daughter was even getting involved with talking cases and stuff like that. And I thought that was
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
And she says,
That was
hi,
really
Dad,
cool.
here.
Hey, that's my younger
Aw,
daughter. Hello.
that's awesome.
Yeah, she's wanting to jump in and do some flyers, and eventually, when either I retire or she decides she wants to take over, or God calls me home, she wants to take over, she wants to do that. So hey,
That's
that's
great.
pretty cool. At least I know KMU
We
will
had a
live
lot of
on.
fun.
Yeah, at least I know KMU will live on.
Right?
Yeah, I had fun too that Saturday night, and I was glad you were with me. That was fun. Matter of fact, there was a couple times I just sat back and let her do the talking
Aw.
That's awesome.
because she was already doing it. So I was like, okay.
How old is she, if I may ask?
She's 18.
Aw.
She just turned 18 in July.
My birthday's in
So,
July, too.
yeah.
Hi, Christopher. Hi, Terry. Hi, Ellen.
Hello, everybody.
So, what do we got tonight, Ricky?
A lot of good cases, actually. Our typicals, but I got some new ones in there. And oh, my daughter says, "Happy late birthday."
Oh, thank you. Happy birthday to you, too.
Ricky, did you? I didn't get a chance to research it. Did you hear much about or read much about those remains that were found a couple of shows ago? Because I know they identified that girl.
They identified the ones that were found in. Oh my goodness.
Was it Rose Hill?
Rose Hill.
Yeah, not Rose Hill. Let me. I'm pulling it up right now. Hang on here. It was in. Come on, computer. So it's KBI and Neodesha Police Department and the Wilson County Sheriff's Office positively identified the man whose skeletal remains were found in rural Wilson County and made an arrest connected to the case. Victim was identified as Levi Ellis, 39, of Neodesha. An autopsy was conducted on his remains. KBI agents, with assistance from officers with the Neodesha Police Department, developed a suspect in the case. An arrest warrant was issued for first-degree murder connected to the death of Levi Ellis. On October 1st, around 1 p.m., officers from the Broken Arrow Police Department in Oklahoma arrested Joseph D. Ferrara, 56, of Neodesha, at the Clarion Hotel at 2600 North Aspen Avenue in Broken Arrow. He was booked into the Tulsa County Jail in Tulsa. Extradition will be pursued. The investigation is ongoing. So yeah, they did identify him. It's not. I don't know that I ever had a flyer up for him. Yeah, the Rose Hill remains have been identified as well. And there's that little girl right there. And there's still, as far as I know, there still haven't been any arrests made in her case either. I think they're still trying to figure out exactly what happened exactly. I know there was a total of 3 kids that were adopted by this family from this little girl's biological mother, and she's in the process of trying to fight to get the other 2 returned to her. She's trying to get the funds raised to hire an attorney. Last thing I saw. And apparently she lives here in Salina because I interviewed her and they were interviewing her here from Salina, and I'm like, oh, okay.
I have a lot of questions. Just like, why don't we have a flyer for her? Like I have a lot of questions about how you can just find the girl's remains, and that's all we really know. Like, how long was she missing? Why wasn't anybody notified she was missing?
Right.
Yeah, there was never, as far as I know, ever a missing persons report ever filed, because I remember early on they said that these remains were not connected to any missing persons case. And I'm like, really? So I thought that was interesting.
That is crazy.
I thought, how could it not be? But then, I guess maybe it wasn't.
Sorry.
But yeah, okay. We're going to start off with our good buddy Dietrich here. And let me find him here. There we go. Dietrich Foster missing from Independence, Kansas since April 12th, 2020. He was 37 when he went missing. He's now 42. He's 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. Dietrich was reported missing on May 12th of 2020. He was last seen around April 12th of 2020 in Independence. KBI agents and detectives from the Independence Police Department are conducting the case as a homicide based upon findings during the investigation into Dietrich's disappearance. Again, at the time of his disappearance, he was 37. He's now 42. He's 5'9", 190 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. He does have a scar on his chest from heart surgery and a scar on the right side of his nose. He has the following tattoos: a cross on his right forearm, the astrological sign for Gemini on his right arm, 3 dice on his arm, the name Dejeuner on his arm, and the word foo on his abdomen. If you have any information regarding Dietrich's disappearance or you know his whereabouts, please call the Independence, Kansas Police Department at 620-332-1700 or KBI at 785-296-4017. There is a governor's reward of $5,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of those responsible for the disappearance and suspected murder of Dietrich Foster. So if you have any information at all, no matter how small you think it might be or how irrelevant you think it might be, call it in. It could be a big piece of what they need. So please do call it in.
Right.
Right.
Is it me or do I look a little herky-jerky on screen?
You're a little herky-jerky.
I wonder why. That's kind of weird. It's kind of here. Let me do this. Hang on. Let me close my daughter's. Here, I just closed my daughter's Google. See if that helps a little bit.
Hi, Prairie Sage. Hi, Esther.
It seems to have helped a little bit. I don't seem to be this herky-jerky.
I
Okay.
agree.
I closed my daughter's Google. She'll probably get mad at me now.
Probably.
Probably.
no.
No AJ.
Oh. Yep, AJ Perez. One we cover quite frequent. Well, every show.
Yes.
Missing from Ulysses, Kansas since December 1st of 2020. He's 35 when he went missing. 39 now. 5'11", 235 pounds. Black hair that he shaves, nearly bald, and brown eyes. Alexander called a family member via telephone on December 1st and said he'd be coming over to do laundry. He never arrived at the family member's home in Ulysses, and he has not been heard from or seen by family since then. He had been staying with family and friends prior to his disappearance. And at the time of his disappearance, Alex was 35. He's now 39. He's 5'11", weighs 235 pounds, has black hair that he shaves nearly bald and brown eyes. He has a tattoo of a bumblebee on his face underneath his left eye. He has Perez tattooed on one of his arms. He has a tattoo of a cross on a chain across his chest. If you have any information regarding Alexander's disappearance or you know his whereabouts, please call the Grant County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-356-3500 or the Ulysses, Kansas Police Department at 620-356-4600 or 785-296-4017. And see if we can't help get AJ located and back to his family where he belongs. And we know now, thanks to Derek and them, that we know the guy that they had arrested initially, and we're going to charge in his connection with his case. They decided not to due to no body and apparently lack of evidence. So as for now, he still remains a missing person and whereabouts unknown. So again, if you have any information on Alex's case and you don't think it's irrelevant or important, get it in anyway, because it could be just exactly what they're needing to help them. So call that in.
Absolutely.
There's also, you can Google, there's a ton of different numbers. You can just Google it for your specific area, but Crime Stoppers is always an option. They will let you give them information without even giving them your name.
Right.
So that's always a good option. Sometimes they'll even give you some money for your information if it leads to like an arrest.
Right.
Yeah, Crime Stoppers. You can just basically Google Crime Stoppers and then either your zip code or your closest city, and they'll get you in contact with the right people.
Yeah, definitely. And our good buddy Kenny, another one. Missing here from Solana, Kansas since November 4th, 2019. He was 69 when he was missing. He's now 74. 5'9", 175 pounds, gray hair and blue eyes. He does sometimes use the last name Brown. He does suffer from diminished mental health capabilities, and he is on disability. He has not tried to access his money since he was last seen. He may have family in northwest Kansas, possibly around the Colby area. He was last seen at the Gospel Mission in Salina. He left there and has not been seen or heard from since. He doesn't have a phone, a vehicle, or any identification. Again, at the time of his disappearance, Kenny was 69. He's now 74. He's 5'9", weighs about 175 pounds, has gray hair and blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Kenny's disappearance or you know of his whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210. Our Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477. Or text SA Tips to Crimes, which is 274-637, or you can go to pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a tip that way, or call the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Kenny located and back to where he needs to be. And also, remember we've been talking about it weeks past too, that the Sheriff's Office is trying to raise funds to help identify remains they found in the western part of town in a creek bed off of Magnolia Road. Initially, it was reported they found a partial skull, but when they started talking about trying to raise the money, they also disclosed that they found additional remains in a dilapidated tent. When I looked on Saturday night, they've got just about $3,900 of the $7,500 raised that they're trying to get raised for that. So they're over halfway. So hopefully we can help get them there.
Yeah.
Again, I talked about it too, that the article that they put out said that they estimated at the time between when the remains were found and when the man died, because they said that they were male remains, was about a year. So I did some digging on KBI, looking at all the missing persons cases in Salina and Saline County. And Kenny's was the closest one that fit that time frame at about a year and 5 months. So
Right.
don't know if it's him or not, but hopefully they can get these remains tested and find out for sure who it is. I mean, it could have been, with homeless people, sometimes they don't get reported because being that they're homeless, sometimes people don't have a way to get a hold of them to check on them and stuff. So,
Right.
Jessica, they still have not figured out who they are. The ones here in Saline County, anyway. The ones over in Neodesha, they did, and an arrest was made also. So, in that case, so they do know who that is. But the ones here in Saline County, they're still working on. Like I said, they're still trying to raise funds for that. They've already put up part of the money themselves, and they're working on trying to figure out who this one is here in Saline County, and hopefully, we can find out.
I'm sure. I don't know. Maybe Ricky, but so say they are able to raise the money and get the proper testing done to get a DNA composite. I mean, if somebody's missing, do we have DNA for everybody on the planet? Like, how do we check to see? How do we have a match of Kenny or anybody's DNA for sure to check against it?
I don't know the photo I have on the flyer is a mugshot photo. I mean, I know that. So I don't know. That would have been a serious enough crime. I can't remember what he was arrested for back then. It wasn't anything serious, but I don't know if it would have been a requirement to draw DNA or not. So I don't know if they have DNA that way, or if they'd have to use genealogical DNA testing, or what they would have to do. They'd have to try to track down family, obviously.
I don't know if he went to I typically go to the doctor once every 6 months, and they take blood every other time. So I mean, I don't know if they save it, but maybe they have DNA. Maybe people are putting the DNA database from. But it just kind of makes me okay, just because you get the DNA, then you have to find a match, and I don't know if we have everybody's DNA,
Right. Yeah, I don't know if they have anything on file for a sample or not. If they would, like I said, if they would have to use genealogical DNA research or what they would have to do. I mean, I guess time will tell if they can get that money raised. Hopefully they can. Like I said, they're a little over $3,900 into it, so they're getting closer.
Right.
Oh, he was arrested on a sex charge back in the 80s. DNA was not a thing back then. No, the picture that I have is a lot more recent than the 80s, though. So I don't remember what that one was for. I didn't know that. Learn something new every day.
Right.
All right. And we're going to move on to Rochelle Elizabeth Hammond, missing from Moscow, Colorado since April 15, 2019. She was 30 when she went missing. She's now 35. She's 5'6", 120 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. She was last seen walking away from her Moscow, Colorado home. She left all her belongings behind, including her phone, her identification, her car, computers, tools, and pet dog. She'd only been living in the area for about 3 weeks prior to her disappearance. She previously lived in Columbus, Ohio. She may be homeless. Although police can find little evidence in her disappearance, her mother believes that she did not leave of her own accord and may have been a human trafficking victim. Rochelle suffers from bipolar disorder and schizophrenia and has been prescribed medication for her conditions, which she also left behind. Rochelle's nose is pierced. She has numerous tattoos, including the phrase "live like a lion" on her upper chest, star behind her ear, a skull on the back of her wrist, stars on the inside of her forearm, a cat with a bong on her shoulder, and other tattoos, and there's photos of them right along the bottom there. And she was last known to be wearing a black tank top, khaki shorts, black Nike shoes, and a silver circular barbell in her nose. That's almost a tongue twister. If you have any information regarding Rochelle's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call the Alamosa County, Colorado Sheriff's Office at 719-589-6608 and see if we can't get Rochelle located. And again, I'm going to probably say this every flare. If you have any information, regardless of how, unimportant or insignificant you might think it might be, call it in any way. It might be something that they really need to help them move it along. So please call it in.
Absolutely.
What was that question?
I just found this phone number. It's the mobile help crisis line. It's for people who are 20 and under. 833-441-2240 if you're under the age of 20 in Kansas and you want to call somebody to get some help.
And Jessica's asking why, when they find these people, why don't they find out where or how they were found? I don't know. That's a good question. I mean, sometimes they'll put it out there. Sometimes they won't. I don't know if it boils down to whether the family wants it out there or not. I'm not sure. But sometimes we do find out where they were located. Sometimes. Not a lot, but sometimes.
Right.
And here's another one that's missing from Salina, Kansas. Haley Davis. Since July 21st of 2023, she was 19 when she went missing. She's now 20. She's 5'6" to 5'7", 190 to 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde, and she has blue eyes. She did leave Salina with a male acquaintance to go to Wichita, Kansas. And she was at last active on her social media and last heard from on July 21st. And at the time of her disappearance, she was 19. She's now 20. She's 5'6" to 5'7" inches tall, weighs between 190 and 200 pounds. Her hair was last known to be dyed bleach blonde. And, she has blue eyes. If you have any information regarding Haley's disappearance, or you know her whereabouts, please call the Salina, Kansas Police Department at 785-826-7210, or call Crime Stoppers at 785-825-8477, or text SA Tips to Crimes, which is 274-637, or visit pd.salina.org and follow the Crime Stoppers link to submit a tip, or you can call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-268-4181, or 316-268-4407, or 316-263-6011, or KBI at 785-296-4017. And, again, any information you have, no matter how small or, it may be, just call it in. It could be a big piece of what they need, especially with any of these cases, I mentioned it before. I went to the vigil that they had a couple of months ago for Haley in Sunset Park and talked to her brother and her aunt, and got to see her little boy. And, that's a hurting family. It really is. They really want to know where she's at. They really want to get her home. They really fear something bad's happened to her. So, let's see if we can't get her brought home.
Yeah.
And this is Dana Bruce. Another one we cover every week, too. And she's missing from Sedalia, Missouri since October 4th, 2008. She was 23 when she went missing. She's now 39. She's 5'2", 98 pounds, brown hair, green or hazel eyes. She was last seen at her children's babysitter's home in Sedalia. She left the children there earlier that day so she could go out for the evening. She returned at midnight and gave the babysitter more money and asked her to watch the children for the rest of the night. Dana was last seen at Malone's Bar on Main Street with a young man driving a late model red Ford F-150 truck earlier on the night of her disappearance. She left with the man at 11:30 p.m. Police have identified the man she was with that night. He traveled to Atlanta, Georgia after her disappearance, and police questioned him about Dana after he was arrested there on unrelated charges of marijuana possession and driving on a suspended license. Authorities have not named him publicly, but they are calling him a person of interest in her case. He told his questioners that he and Dana parted ways after they left the bar, and he never saw her after that. She left all of her belongings behind, including her hairbrush and her toothbrush. She does not have any credit cards, debit cards, checking account, cell phone, or a car. Again, at the time of her disappearance, she was 23. She's now 39. She's 5'2", weighs 98 pounds. She has brown hair that was colored brown at the roots and black at the ends with red highlights and green or hazel eyes. She was last known to be wearing a black shirt with the word Rebel and silver lettering in the front and blue jeans. She does have a tattoo of a teddy bear with wings and the name Dylan on her upper left arm. She's blind in her left eye, and she has a 2-inch scar along her lower spine and a staple scar on her right shoulder. Her ears are pierced 1 time each. If you have any information regarding Dana's disappearance or you know her whereabouts, please call the Sedalia, Missouri Police Department at 660-827-7823 or 660-826-8100 or the Missouri State Highway Patrol at 573-526-6178 or their other number 866-362-6422. Or you can call Private Investigator Leslie at 910-427-0070 and see if we can't get Dana located and back to her family. Because again, they're another family that's hurting and wanting answers and have her brought back home. So again, any information, no matter how small you think it might be, please get it, call in. And Ellen says Friday will make 16 years that she's been missing. That's a long time.
Yeah. A whole long time.
Yep. Yeah, we try to start at 9:15.
Sometimes we have technical difficulties and it's a little later, but
Yeah. Yep. All right.
Amy Jasmine.
Yeah, this one's a case that gets me fired up for obvious reasons. This is Jamie Jasmine Zubia Hernandez, May 30th, 2015, Kansas City, Kansas. 13-year-old Jamie Jasmine Zubia Hernandez ran away from her foster home in Athena, Kansas on June 9th, 2012. Prior to her disappearance, Jamie recently had been prosecuted in a juvenile court for drug possession. She was due in court for her sentencing shortly after her disappearance. She never showed up and was never seen by her foster family again. There was unfortunately very little media coverage on Jamie's disappearance, likely due to her runaway status. 3 years later, during the morning hours of May 30th, 2015, a Kansas City resident called the police to report a shootout in the 2500 block of Ridge Avenue. According to the witnesses, 2 vehicles fired shots at each other, and a female passenger in one of the vehicles was killed as a result. The female passenger's body was dumped on the side of the road, and the vehicles drove off before the police arrived. 2 days later, on June 1st, 2015, authorities announced that the slain female was identified as Jamie. The identity of Jamie's killer remains unknown, as does the identity of the driver of the car Jamie was riding in when she was shot. Additionally, Jamie's whereabouts from June 2012 to May 2015 still remain a mystery. Although she was ultimately found in Kansas City, it's unknown where she stayed or how she survived during those 3 years. Investigators said they received a tip that Jamie was in Kansas City in 2013, but when they followed said lead, they were unable to find her. At that time, police were searching for a late 1990s or early 2000s white Ford F-150 with flare sides, tinted windows, 20-inch chrome rims, and a touchscreen device in the cab. The truck was located on June 2nd, 2015, unoccupied, and was taken and processed for evidence. If you have any information regarding Jamie's murder, please call the Athena, Kansas Police Department at 785-989-4521 or call the TIPS hotline anonymously at 816-474-8477 or the KBI at 800-572-7463. Or you can scan that Say It Here QR code there on the flyer there, and it'll take you right to the KC Crime Stoppers website, so you can submit a tip there also. And as I mentioned, this case gets me fired up as far as the using the runaway status, because I think it puts a stigma on a kid when they say runaway, because everybody automatically thinks bad kid, this and that. And I've said this before, not all kids end up in foster care because of their actions. Sometimes they wind up there because of the actions of the parents also. So, it goes both ways.
Absolutely.
It does. So I mean, I've always said this with even though they feel that they're running away, I think it needs to be investigated from the worst case scenario, working backwards to the least case, the least worst case scenario being the runaway scenario. If evidence points to the fact that he just ran away, hey, fine. But even if they did they do it of their own volition? Were they coerced? Were they groomed? I mean, that kind of thing needs to be looked into heavily. I mean, especially with these predators and these traffickers accessing our kids through their cell phones or computers, their video game systems. I mean, they're
Exactly.
coming at them from every direction. So I mean, it's gonna really be up to everybody to keep an eye out for these guys. It's just crazy,
With technology, like it's just easier access.
right? And Jessica's saying, I'd rather hear a child be in a foster home than a runaway and be unsafe. Yeah, I agree with that. I do. And this one's Cynthia Neighbor Gonzalez, another unsolved homicide from Arlington, Texas. On September 17, 1991, Cynthia Renee Gonzalez was reported missing and to the Arlington, Texas Police Department. On September 22nd, 1991, Cynthia's body was discovered in a creek bed off County Road 313 in Johnson County, Texas. It's later determined that Cynthia died from multiple gunshot wounds. Cynthia was reportedly at her apartment with her boyfriend when her husband stopped by to deliver their daughter for a weekend visit. Sometime later, Cynthia left for an appointment without a customary bodyguard. She was never seen again. Serial killer Kenneth Allen McDuff, 1946 to 1998, was looked at in connection with Cynthia's death. Jim Ford, longtime Arlington police officer and a renowned homicide investigator, had looked at McDuff in connection with Cynthia's case for going on 18 years. He was never able to make a match or a mismatch. McDuff was believed to have abducted the victim from a car wash in Austin, Texas. Cynthia's car, a two-seat Pontiac Fiero, was seen parked at a car wash in Arlington the day she disappeared. There were similarities in the Austin case and Cynthia's case. He kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and killed his victim at a car wash in Austin. He dumped the bodies of several of his victims in rural areas. He killed several victims by shooting them. Investigators could not place McDuff in the Arlington area and could not determine whether he was out on the streets at that time, but could not find him as being incarcerated at that time either. Other persons of interest have been coming up and have been cleared as well. McDuff's since has been ruled out by DNA testing. If you have any information regarding Cynthia's death, please call 817-459-5772. And if you wish to remain anonymous and possibly receive a reward of up to $1,250, please call the Toronto County, Texas Crime Stoppers at 817-469-8477 and see if we can't get some justice for Cynthia and her family.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Derek has it scrolling across the bottom that she's been gone for 12,064 days. That's a long time.
Yeah, since she was murdered,
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's a lot of days.
That is.
And we got Jonathan Jensen going on here. This is another one we're starting to cover weekly now. Jonathan's missing from Kerwin, Kansas since June 14th, 2023. He was 52 when he went missing. He's now 54. He's 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. He left without his vehicle, his cell phone, or his wallet. Again, at the time of his disappearance, he was 52. He's now 54. He's 5'11", 190 pounds, brown hair, hazel eyes. If you have any information regarding Jonathan's disappearance, of his whereabouts, please call the Phillips County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-543-6885 or KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can help get Jonathan located and back home to his family.
Absolutely.
And Jessica, this is Jonathan's daughter, Jessica, right here. So see if we can do what we can do to help her find her dad and get him brought home.
Yeah.
Oh, that's that. Yeah, that was on the remains that were found, and have since been identified. And yeah. And this one I just did the other day. And when I originally did the flyer, I just had the one photo in the lower left corner there, and then I've been able to obtain other ones through a couple of sources. This is Liviana Grimes, missing from Wichita, Kansas, September 28th, 2024. 12 years old, 5'5", 95 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. She was last seen leaving her home in the 1600 block of North Brunswick in Wichita. Again, she's 12. She's 5'5", 95 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Last seen wearing a black hoodie and gray sweatpants. If anybody has any information regarding Liliana's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, call 911 immediately, or call the Wichita Police Department at 316-660-9254, or 316-660-9456, or 316-263-6011, or the KBI at 785-296-4017, and see if we can help get Liliana located and back home to where she needs to be.
Baby.
Yeah, she's a baby.
12 years old. Yeah. Been missing for what, 4 days now? Yeah, 4 days. So let's get her found back home. That's crazy. I mean, where would a 12-year-old go for 4 days?
I would say she's probably in a home with an adult.
To
Probably.
know some.
That's possibly, yeah. Yep. And again,
Thinks it's a good idea to let a minor that's on a missing persons poster stay in your house. Google harboring a minor and penalties.
right.
Absolutely.
And again, I'm going to ask everybody, go down on the page there, find her flyer, share it out there everywhere, share the show out there everywhere. Let's get her found and back home. I mean,
Yeah,
12 years old, a little bit too young to be missing that long.
absolutely.
Yeah. And this is Amy Miller. And she is missing from Johnson County, Kansas since September 21st, 2024. She's 49, 5'5", 120 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. Her last known whereabouts was the Center Point Hospital in Independence, Missouri on Friday, September 20th, 2024. And she's 49, 5'5", 120 pounds, blonde hair, brown eyes. She does have full sleeve tattoos on both arms. You can see in that picture down there at the bottom there. If you have any information regarding Amy's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Johnson County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 913-782-0720 or KBI at 785-296-4017. Now, I have been in contact with some of her family, and they did tell me she did reach out through video chat, but she has not disclosed her location. And I told her family that's great that she's reached out at least, but in order for her to be considered located and be able to be cleared, she's going to have to either go to the sheriff's office or the police department, or call them and have them come to her so they can verify she is safe and okay. And then they can clear her case. But until they see and talk to her physically, she's going to remain a missing person. So if anybody knows Amy, you might let her know that if you talk to her, that she's going to have to get in contact with authorities and, like I said, go see them personally or have them come to her so they can verify she is safe and okay. And then they can clear a missing person's case.
Yeah.
As somebody who's packed up all my things into a car and left like dozens of times in my life, if you ever see this, Amy, I get it 100% and do what you got to do, but just call somebody, like Ricky's saying, call a police officer, just go meet with one, let them know you're okay. Nobody's judging you for being by yourself for a while. That sounds great, actually, just to go away for a while, but just find an officer, let them know you're safe. Just so the people that, that are worried about you can feel better.
All right. Definitely. And this is Tasia Murray. We did a flyer for her a long time ago. I just was recently asked to do another one. She's missing from Doniphan County, Kansas since September 29th, 2024. She's 17. She's 5'10" to 6 foot, 180 to 200 pounds, red or auburn hair and green eyes. It's believed that she may be trying to get to Champaign, Illinois. And she's 17. She's 5'10" to 6 foot tall, weighs between 180 and 200 pounds, has red or auburn hair and green eyes. The last time I did her flyer, she had her baby Asher with her. I don't know if she does this time or not. Somebody messaged me and asked me because I know her, but this time I don't know. Last time I was told that she had him with her. This time I wasn't. So if you have any information regarding Tasia's disappearance, you know her whereabouts, please call the Doniphan County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 785-985-3711 or KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't get Tasia located and back to where she needs to be.
Oh,
Bless you.
Bless you.
excuse me.
This one's one that took me a few days to get because I was having a hard time tracking down everything I needed for. But this is Jason Bowen, missing from Colorado Springs, Colorado since September 25th, 2024. He's 42. He's 6'2", 210 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes. He was last seen at the Circle K on Garden of the Gods and I-25. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but he was a longtime resident of Norton, Kansas, and it's unknown if he may be trying to return there. I mean, again, he's 42. He's 6'2", 210 pounds, has blonde hair and blue eyes. He has a Grim Reaper tattoo on his right forearm. He's last known to be wearing a black shirt, jeans, work boots, and a hat. If you have any information regarding Jason's disappearance, you know his whereabouts, please call the Colorado Springs, Colorado Police Department at 719-444-7000 and see if we can't get Jason located and back to where he needs to be.
Wow.
Ricky, we're doing great on time, so I was just gonna ask you to kind of explain your
Me?
process. Let's say you find out Jason goes missing from a family member of his. How long of a process is it for you to go from hearing Jason's missing to actually getting a flyer out on the website?
How long does it take to get the flyer up on the website?
Yeah, and what all information do you have to have before you post?
Well, generally I'll ask them. First thing I ask them is if a missing person report's been filed, and they'll let me know whether one has or not. If one has, then I'll just go ahead and tell them, I need a photo or photos of the missing person, their name, age, height, weight, hair and eye color, last known clothing description if it's available, a vehicle description if it's known and applicable, when and where they're missing from, the law enforcement agency the missing persons report's filed with, and the case number with that agency. If they tell me they haven't filed one yet, I do my best to walk them through the process of getting a missing persons report filed, letting them know that, when they call the police or the sheriff's department to file it, that there is a statute in place in Kansas that states when any law enforcement agency in Kansas is notified of a missing person, they must, without delay, take and file a missing persons report and have it entered into the missing persons section of NCIC and on the KBI's website within 2 hours of filing that report. I always like to make sure they know that in case they do get a hold of law enforcement, and because some of them still try to say, oh, well, it's an adult, we still have to wait 24 hours, 48 hours, 72 hours. It's like, nope, that's not the case. No. It's not what the statute says. It states that you get called, hey, I need to report a missing person, they got to get on it. So, that the days of being, I have to wait 24, 48, 72 hours, those are dead and gone. Those are gone. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, as far as getting the flyers made and posted, kind of depends on how long it takes me to get the information and whether I'm home from work or not. But if I'm home from work and I can get the information, I can have it up in about 15 minutes. If I have everything I need, sometimes it takes me a little bit to get information because I have to wait for family members to send it to me or get it emailed to me, and it might take me closer to a half hour or so. And like with Jason Bowens, I had a hard time getting everything I needed, so it took me a couple 3 days to finally get everything I needed and get it posted and made. So yeah, it's a process. And my daughter says Colton, a friend of hers, is trying to watch too. He's listening through the phone. Hopefully he can get it figured out and pulled up. It shouldn't be too hard. Just go to the Kansas Missing and Unsolved page, and there it is. Or you can go to the YouTube, Kansas Missing and Unsolved, or where is it? No, Ricky Chabruggi, Kansas Missing and Unsolved. And you can find it there under the lives. It's not going to be under the videos yet. It'll be under the live section. You have to find the live tab and click on that, and then you'll find the video there. You have to make sure to point that out because I've gone to watch live feeds on other YouTubes, and I was like, where's the darn thing at? And I clicked on live, and oh, there it is. Okay. So,
Yeah.
have we covered everybody? Oh, nope. Ashton McDonald. Yeah, we did. Okay, yeah, Ashton McDonald. He, where are you at? You're hiding way up there. Okay. Missing from Topeka, Kansas on June 14th of 2024. So he's been missing for several months now. He's 17, 5'10" to 6'2", 160 pounds, black hair and brown eyes. And I believe we probably did cover him back in June. But again, he's 17, 5'10" to 6'2", 160 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Ashton's disappearance or you know his whereabouts, please call the Topeka, Kansas Police Department at 785-368-9200 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can help get Ashton located and back to where he needs to be. It's my daughter's friend, Colton. Glad you found us. Hello from New York City. Wow. Hey, Margaret, how you doing up there in New York? One of these days I want to make it to New York.
Me too.
I just want to check out the old mafia haunts is what I want to do. I watch a lot of mafia videos and I read a lot of books on mafia and stuff, so I'm kind of a mafia buff a little bit.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. This is Jawan Alexander, missing from Wichita since September 13th, 2024. He's 14, 5'10", 190 pounds. He's a big kid for 14. It's believed he still may be in the local Wichita area. Again, he's 14, 5'10", weighs 190 pounds, black hair, brown eyes. If you have any information regarding Jawan's disappearance, you know his whereabouts, please call the Wichita, Kansas Police Department at 316-660-9254 or 316-660-9456 or 316-263-6011 or the KBI at 785-296-4017 and see if we can't help get Jawan located and back to where he needs to be.
Yeah, he's 14.
Another
Man, they
baby.
just
Yeah,
16 and under scares me.
it
being
does.
gone, you know?
Because you never know who they're going to get hooked up with and what kind of stuff they're getting involved in, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
Margaret says she lives on the Lower East Side of New York City. Lots of little mafia post adventures. Oh, I bet. I bet. Yeah, I've read a lot of stuff on Gotti and Castellano and Gambino and Lucchese, excuse me, Genovese, Luciano, a lot of them. John Gotti's underboss, Sammy Gravano's got his own YouTube channel, and he tells a lot of old mafia stories on his YouTube channel. Sammy the Bull.
I watched Mob Wives. Does that count?
I don't know.
Sammy the Bull's daughter was actually in the cast of that.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Sammy Bull was somebody who didn't want to mess with us for darn sure. I mean, yeah, it's fun to sit there listening to him telling about the more mafia stories and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I like learning history, stuff like that. I mean, and it still happens today, but you know, back in the 20s and
Yeah.
up, it's interesting, you know, just the lifestyle and how much it's changed or hasn't changed.
Yeah. Yeah. They
My
say
favorite one was Henry Hill. He did a bunch of Howard Stern interviews in the 90s where he was pretty intoxicated, and it was pretty entertaining stuff.
I can't think of that guy's name. He was a Teamster that went missing for a long time, and they still haven't found him. And there was rumor going around. Yeah, that's it. Jimmy Hoffa. One rumor come out that he was buried in the end zone in the Meadowlands where the Giants and the Jets play, and another guy that was another mafia guy that was in prison for a long time, so he was buried in some farm somewhere and stuff like that.
I think your daughter and I can be friends for sure. For sure.
My history is super cool. Yeah. Jimmy Hoffa. I don't know if I'll ever find him. Maybe someday. Bill Bonanno's old social club was a block away from me, across the street from the old Catholic church. Nuns convent 3 doors down. The boys gave nuns their phone numbers and said if they had any trouble. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Giant stadium rumor was proven false when the stadium was demolished. Ah, okay. I didn't like math. Oh, I hate it. Especially algebra, geometry, trigonometry, calculus. Oh, my gosh. I stayed away from that stuff.
I barely got through basic math.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too.
I think both Hope and May would agree that I'm pretty gangster.
Who said that?
Also a geography person, yeah.
Sure,
Gangster?
I think he said gangster.
Yeah.
I got more gangster in my little toe than Derek's got, but that's okay. That's okay. Believe your dreams, Derek. Believe your dreams.
You can be a gangster for Halloween, I guess.
Well, I did look up to see what the
New rumors suggest that Hoffa was buried beneath the Milwaukee Brewers' old county stadium. I read investigators are pursuing that lead. Oh, okay. I hadn't heard that one.
Interesting.
Hadn't heard that one.
astronomy and the stars and
I
planets.
love it.
I love that.
There's my stuff.
Definitely, Chris.
One thing's for sure. If the mafia wanted to make you disappear, they can make you
Oh,
disappear.
yeah.
Oh, man, they could.
Girl, you are better than I am. I can't even tell you what state I live in half the time.
She can list 82 countries off the top. Wow. She's doing better than me.
I'm wondering if I can.
Well, I looked
Yeah.
on KBI's website, and they have 192 juveniles missing or reported missing and 406 adults.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Margaret,
Don Derek.
don't do that, Margaret. You don't have to do that.
Don Derek.
Oh.
Yeah, this is a couple that I did just right before the show, literally. And this is just touching a piece of the case here. I made folders on Kansas Missing and Unsolved, the Unsolved Homicides page, and on the main page. It has these flyers and a lot more information that I could not fit on the flyer by any means. This one here is Betty Lou Cantrell, September, October 1969, Iowa, Kansas. Tuesday, September 30th, 1969 was the last day anyone had seen Betty Lou Cantrell alive. Betty was a 28-year-old mother of two who worked as a waitress at the 24-hour Dine-Out Cafe in Iowa, Kansas. She was working the early morning shift that day and was seen in the cafe around 4:30 in the morning by a night patrolman. He saw her sipping a cup of coffee sitting at one of the tables. By the time her coworkers were starting to show up around 5 o'clock in the morning, they noticed that the lights in the diner were off and there was no sign of Betty or her car. The diner's closed sign was displayed and the doors were unlocked. Someone notified the police and they showed up shortly after. They found drops of blood and a handprint where Betty was seen sitting along with drops around the diner. The drops of blood were reportedly nothing more than when someone cuts their finger. There were also two coffee cups at the table, one with lipstick and one without. An estimated $30 was missing from the register. Later that afternoon, her car was discovered with the key still in it along a railroad corridor at the south end of town. While examining the car, they found two more small traces of blood, but still no signs of Betty. And there were no signs of a struggle in the car nor the diner. And some of her belongings, such as her purse and radio, were missing. Search parties of people soon began, but nothing came of them that day. The search for Betty continued through Friday, October 3rd. Still no new leads on her whereabouts. Around 5 p.m., a man traveling across the old Kentucky Street Bridge noticed a body floating in Elm Creek. He notified the police immediately, and they arrived shortly thereafter. When our officers arrived, they noticed the woman had also suffered several blows to her head. The blows were so powerful, her teeth were dislodged. They found a bloody rock nearby and suspected it was used to cause the injuries she sustained, along with more bloodied tissues. The woman also had a broken finger on her right hand. A finger on her right hand was bruised, along with one of her knees. She was also missing a shoe. The body had been in the creek for several days, making it difficult for the investigators to identify the cause of death. It was said by the coroner she likely died the morning she went missing, and her cause of death was ruled a drowning. but officials wanted an autopsy to be done to verify the cause of death due to the nature of her body and how long she'd been in the water. Betty's husband, David Cantrell, was called in to see if the body belonged to his wife. He confirmed that it was, in fact, Betty by recognizing the jewelry she was wearing. If you have any information regarding Betty's murder, please call the Allen County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-365-1400 or KBI at 800-572-7463. And like I said, I've created folders with more information, a lot more information than what I could fit on the flyers. So if you want to check the page out and really deep dive into this, there's a lot more information. It would take me a whole standalone video to cover everything. Yep. And then the other one, the next one, Sally Hutton. Yeah, this is another one. Iola, Kansas again. September, October 1969 again. Friday, October 3rd, 1969, around noon, a call came in to Iola police about a body found about a mile away from what used to be the Allen County Country Club. The body was located in a ditch at the intersection of 2000th Street, North Dakota Road. Upon the arrival, police discovered the deceased body of a woman who had been beaten so viciously that her facial features were unrecognizable. She also had other injuries like a broken leg and a back injury, suggesting she may have been run over with a car. Investigators believed that the object she was struck with could have been a tire iron or something similar. They also noticed that a base of a car jack was near her body. There was a lack of blood at the scene, indicating she was murdered somewhere else. The coroner placed her time of death between 10 and 15 hours before she was found, so around 10 p.m. and 12 a.m. the night before. There were no signs of sexual assault, and her cause of death was reported as a result of blunt force trauma to the head. The body found later was identified as missing 14-year-old Sally Ann Hutton. Sally was the daughter of Ray and Elsie Hutton and had last been seen Thursday night, the night before, leaving an Iola Junior High football game at Riverside Park. Sally Hutton's case is still at a standstill but remains open. There were no immediate suspects or arrests, if any at all, known to the public. Her case has just been passed from one retiring detective to the next. If you have any information that might be helpful in solving Sally's murder, please call the Allen County, Kansas Sheriff's Office, 620-365-1400, or the KBI 800-572-7463. And the information I was reading that I have posted also states that they have not been able to make any connections between the two cases, but it sounds very similar as far as, they were both viciously beaten and
around the same time frame, it looks like.
Disposed of in rural areas. So, it could very easily be related, but I don't know.
Yeah.
And also talked about they did have an arrest made in the case. Let me see here. Let me look here real quick. Says on January 23rd, 1970, Betty's case would take what was thought a step forward when Joseph Marion Jack Shoemaker, 50, was arrested by KBI on first-degree murder charges. Shoemaker had been under investigation 2 weeks after her body was found. He was originally brought in October for public intoxication and disorderly conduct, but comments he was making to law enforcement during the arrest led them to believe he was connected with Betty's disappearance and murder. Jack was known around Iola as the town drunk, and when he was being hauled into the jail, he told sheriff, "I killed someone," during his interrogation. Shoemaker was allegedly given more alcohol by officers to keep him talking. He eventually mentioned several things that weren't known to the public, such as cash being the only thing taken from the register. No coins were known to be missing. He knew there were 2 coffee cups on the table where Betty was sitting, and he knew that rocks were placed on top of her after her death. He also noted that he saw Betty alive that night in the diner and waited for a customer to leave before he eventually entered. He claimed he knocked her out when he struck her with a sugar container and proceeded to drag her out to his car. After driving her to the banks of Elm Creek, he claimed he had beat her with a sock full of rocks and held her head underwater until she became unresponsive. Then he placed large, heavy rocks on top of her body to hold it down. The items that were missing, her radio and glasses, he claimed to have taken after murdering and dumping them in the Neosho River. Summer 71 is when his case went to trial. Bob Talkington, the defense attorney, went hard on Shoemaker's confession, which he later recanted. Talkington noted that the information police claimed to have only have been known by them was public knowledge, and most everyone in town knew the details. and the fact that none of the evidence was processed, including the blood in the cafe, a handprint, and bloody tissues. The psychiatrist testified that Shoemaker was probably lying during his confession. The jury deliberated for 6 hours over 2 days and initially found Shoemaker not guilty. After his trial wrapped up, Shoemaker left town. He later died in 1977. Shoemaker's arrest and trial was really as far as Betty Cantrell's murder case went. Once Shoemaker was arrested and tried, her case went from open to closed and has remained that way to this day. Her files are still sealed and rarely looked at by detectives. Let's see. As for Sally's case, it's still at a standstill, as we mentioned. No immediate suspects or arrests, if any at all, known to the public. Case just is being passed from one retiring detective to the next. Even years later, Sally's sisters, Carolyn Henry and Brenda Welch, are still bringing awareness about her murder. Both sisters wrote letters to the Iola Register every October asking for the public to come forward with any information that might help the investigation. Brenda sadly passed away in 2012, but to this day, Carolyn still wants and is fighting to find her sister justice. Carolyn said, "Never a day goes by that I don't think about Sally. I've just learned to live with it and go on. Sometimes I think about the nieces and nephews I might have had. Detectives on both cases believe that both killers are now likely deceased, but finding Betty and Sally justice is still in the works." And again, if you have any information that might be helpful, call the Allen County, Kansas Sheriff's Office at 620-365-1400 or the KBI at 800-572-7463. And see if we can't help get justice for those two ladies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's crazy. But I bet you're shooting. Yeah, they're probably near 60. Because I'm getting close to that myself. So, but yeah. Brutal, unaliving, but doesn't take jewelry. Yeah, good point. So it doesn't look like the robbery may have necessarily been the motive. It doesn't sound like, and no evidence of sexual assaults on either victim. So it doesn't sound like that was a motive. So, don't know. But we'll just keep sharing it and hope somebody will come up with the information that we need to get them justice.
Right.
Man. Been a long couple of weeks, man.
Yeah, it has.
Dealing with the passing of my one dog and dealing with that. And been a rough one.
Yeah.
Got his ashes in there on my mantle, over my fireplace, and got a couple of pictures of him. I'm gonna put a couple more up there. Got his leash and his collar up there, and
Oh.
yeah, miss the big guy.
I bet.
Yeah, he was my buddy.
Hey, Ricky, whenever you get some time this week, go through all of our live streams. People can
Mhm.
react. There's a name that I'm pretty sure like Angry reacts every live stream we do, which I'm all about people not liking what we do here, but I think more than 3 times is a little suspicious. Will you see if that's actually if it's the same person Angry reacting, and maybe we're covering a case that they don't want us covering, but to me that's a little suspicious to Angry react multiple times to a missing person show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it is. It is. I'll have to do that if I get some time. I will do that. How far back do I need to go? Do you remember?
I'm from what I usually just blow it off, and usually I can click a button, it'll tell me who reacted what way, and
Right.
usually I don't even check it. But usually when I check it and we have an Angry react, it's that same name.
Yeah.
If you hover above where it says we're live up there, don't say any names out loud. But if you hover above the Angry react, it'll drop a name down.
Sure. Okay. I'll see if I can do some research on that.
Did that, but yeah.
See, because you might be right. It could be somebody that it's a particular case they don't want us messing with, but never know.
Yeah. Well, Ricky, go ahead and get us out of here. Do your thing, and we want to thank everybody and tune in Sunday night 9 p.m. for 7-Day Circle with Hope and May. They're going to have a guest this week, we think, and we're going to have a spooky theme all month.
Yeah, wow.
Because it's Halloween month, so we will have a spooky theme all month.
Yeah. That's cool.
And actually, I believe I'll have to double check, but I believe our missing person show here will land on Hallows Eve, so maybe we should all dress up for that night.
I don't know. We'll see. If I was, if I was to do that, I have to figure out what I'd want to dress up as.
Just we'll figure it out. We'll make it
Yeah.
worth it.
Well, I'll tell you my favorite Halloween story though, real quick. It was back in 1993, I believe it was, down in Wichita. They were having this thing called a Halloween Spooktacular, and it took place in a building that it used to be a store of some sort. And they had half of it set up to where it was a big, like, haunted house type thing. And the other half, they had some celebrities come in for. They had the guy that played Leatherface in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They had Linda Blair from The Exorcist. Had Bob Morton that did special effects for the movie FX. They had Monique Gabrielle, who's like a B Queen horror actress. And then my favorite one, he was only there for one night. It was Halloween night. It was Kane Hodder. He's the only actor that ever played Jason Voorhees more than once in a Friday the 13th movie. He played him in Part 7, Part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. And I had to go down for that. I was like, because I'm a Friday the 13th night. So I had to go down for that. And it was really cool. I'll have to show you guys the pictures next show. But I got two pictures of him. One where I'm just standing next to him. Then the second picture, he's got his hands around my throat, choking me. So I like to.
Hey.
I joke around about that, saying I met Jason and lived.
I'm
That
a
was-
Michael Myers fan personally.
That was really cool. And then, of course, the guy who played Leatherface, Gunnar Hansen, I got a picture with him. He's choking me. I'm like, okay. He's a big guy. I mean, both of them were big guys, but I think Gunnar was bigger than Kane was. But yeah, it was really cool. I had a good time that night. I went through the haunted house part of it, and I went through this. It was like a mad scientist lab type thing, and they had the guy on the table and the thing coming up out of his stomach, and the doctor was like, acting like he was sawing on him and stuff and this and that. And we're all going out of the room afterwards, and I'm the last one out. And all of a sudden, this hand comes on, slams me on the shoulder, spins me around, and it's the mad doctor. He's like, "Would you like to be next?" And I looked at him and went, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh." I couldn't resist. I could not resist. I don't think he expected anybody to react that way either. I had fun that night.
Right.
That was a blast. Yeah, like I said, I was back in 1993, and I was a lot younger. A lot younger. Really, with that, I'll go ahead and get us out of here. But Heavenly Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight so we go over these missing persons and unsolved homicide cases. And again, like I say, I just pray that if anybody has information, like I say, no matter how small they think it might be, to get that called in so they can, hopefully it might be a big piece of what they need to get some people found or some murder solved. You never know. But just keep everybody safe, Heavenly Father. And until next week, until we can see each other again, everybody stay safe. God bless and good night. Amen.